What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Today we are driving a 2007 BMW X5 3.0 SI. We have the owner with us, Jesse, who runs the Limitless YouTube channel. We have a picture up on screen and we will link it in the description down below. This has a 3-liter naturally aspirated inline 6, the N52, making about 250 horsepower and a torque number that is less than 250, more than 200, doesn't really matter. It's enough. 6-speed automatic transmission. Now I'm going to let Jesse take it away. Give us the brief rundown. How'd you get this car? What'd you buy it for? That's the main point of this.
So I was selling my daily because I needed something a little bit more practical. And I had found this, although it has a few miles. I got it for $2,500. It runs and drives fine. It does have a check engine light, but we'll get that fixed eventually.
Yeah, it has a check engine light, has 247,000 miles, which is a lot, but $2,500. And I mean, these are now second gen X5s, cheap used car territory. First gens are now kind of entering the classic car realm, and this is now becoming the 15-plus-year-old drivers. And I think these are kind of a bargain. So let's go ahead and hop on the road and take the second generation BMW X5 for a drive. Oh, also forgot, you can start this without the key in it. Would have had a backup camera, doesn't work, which is okay. Check engine light, does weird idle thingy because of the check engine light. Was there another warning light?
It just had the service light, but
oh yeah, that's what it was. All right,
nothing.
All right, whatever, doesn't matter. And one of the coolest features about it is this awesome panoramic sunroof. Oh, look at that. The best part about it is that it works. I mean, look at that. Look at how much light we now have in this interior. So right out the rip, it's pretty peppy down low. And this one's even down a bit of power because of the check engine light. So even despite our being down on power, it still feels smooth, delivers good torque down low. Driver inputs are pretty normal for a car from this era. The gas pedal is, you know, classic electronic throttle. It's kind of dead, but it kind of makes sense with my foot. Surprisingly, this doesn't have the same awful 2000s BMW on-off switch throttle pedal that most of these have, like the E90. Brake pedal has nice modulations, nice and firm on your initial press. Perfect. Okay, awesome. We got all that out of the way. Oh, suspension feels, you know, kind of floaty, big car. And we have another little issue going on in the rear, which you may or may not hear in video. It's wheel bearing, axle related. Ride quality is pretty good. You feel a lot of the bumps in the road, but they're all pretty dead end, and the car actually handles pretty well. So actually, we got a turn coming up. Throw it into Sport. Oh, look at that. Steering is a little bit numb, but you do get a fair amount, and say a fair amount more than you would get from anything more modern of this size. Okay, driver's feedback over. Now, let's talk about why these cars are awesome. Well, for starters, they are extremely cheap. You bought this for $2,500.
Yes.
$2,500. Now, it does have 250,000 miles, and new it was like around 48,000 starting MSRP in 07.
It was 46 to 48 for the base X5, but around there, yeah.
Okay, so 46 to 48, which in today's money, that really is like 70, 80 grand. That's been depreciated and beat down to $2,500, which is always a funny thing to think about. But what's great about these is this was the reliable X5. I'm sure the new ones are also pretty reliable, but I don't think they're old enough yet to have as many of the problems that the previous ones had. But first gen X5s gave BMW kind of a rough reputation with SUVs. They had a lot of electrical problems. They developed it with Land Rover. They weren't that amazing at cars, but the second gen, they fixed a lot of those issues. And it's funny because when in mid-2000s, a lot of other BMWs were becoming less reliable, but the X5 got a lot more reliable. I mean, this one, 250,000 miles, and no engine work, no transmission work. We don't even know if the transmission's been serviced on this.
Yeah, I don't have very much service history on this car. I just test drove it. It felt great for me, so I bought it, and it's been great since I bought it.
And so we are. I also love how these engines sound from this era. That straight 6, the N52 is such a good engine. It's very smooth. It delivers power nicely. All right, I'm gonna try the kickdown switch here. It's so funny. I always forget how high these rev. All the way out to 7 grand. Because the previous non-Ms from the older BMWs, the early 2000s, 90s, earlier, they stopped at 6,500. That extra 500 RPM really makes the engine feel more alive. So, Jesse, tell us what got you into this thing.
Well, I was obviously looking for another daily. The daily I had before, it was rear-wheel drive, and it was lowered, so it really wasn't practical.
Right.
I was honestly looking for a wagon, but then I found this, and I went and test drove it. Then I figured it's all-wheel drive. It sits way higher than a wagon or a sedan would. It's going to be more practical, get through the snow a lot better.
Right.
We have a lot of snow when it's wintertime. I just kind of fell in love with it when I drove it. And yeah, it's got some issues, but for the price, I really couldn't beat it.
It's hard to buy any decent car for $2,500.
Right, yeah. And yes, a lot of miles. Does it scare me? Not really, because the N52 is a reliable engine, and they've been known to go for 300,000+ miles and still last, still smooth as butter.
Right, agreed. Yeah, this is BMW's last, I think their last NA 6-cylinder engine.
Yeah, it was their last naturally aspirated engine.
Yeah, because after this engine, they all have turbochargers. The N54, the N55, the B58. Which are all great engines, but there's something to be said about an NA engine. It's just kind of fun.
I agree.
Well, Sport Mode does a pretty good job of holding the gears as well. Yeah, this was a good era for BMW as far as driving went. We had lost some of the feedback of some of the older cars, but it still wasn't completely gone like it is. And I think after the E chassis, we definitely took a huge hit, the driver's feedback. But it still had a lot of modern sort of things you'd want in a new car and that extra level of refinement. So it's a preference thing. More refined than the older stuff, per usual. The iDrive system, though, was not good. This screen you have in here, huge improvement.
Yeah, I like this screen a lot better, especially since I can sync it to my phone. The old CCC iDrive system is just slow and hard to navigate. It's a mess.
Yeah. Now, the old iDrive system's not good. And, people like to say, oh, well, back in the day, it was the first one, whatever. Back then, it was good. Nope, wasn't good back then either. If you go back and you look at other infotainment systems from its day, it was bad. It was a bad system. There's no, ifs, ands, or buts. And they do have some of the classic BMW sort of problems, like some of the cooling system parts. The radiators on these are aluminum, unlike the plastic ones in the 3 Series counterparts, which is awesome. Jesse pointed that out to me earlier.
Yeah, it makes it more reliable so you won't have a cracking radiator issue. So it's one of the cooling issues solved straight from BMW since it's a factory part.
Which begs the question, why didn't they do it on all of them? They had the ability to make aluminum radiators, they just chose not to. Why did they do that? I don't know. The world will never know, but every 20-year-old BMW and older has radiator problems because BMW decided that for whatever reason on those cars, they were incapable of using anything but plastic. Oh, and I love BMWs. They have the correct direction for their automatic shift knobs for the up and down shifts. Downshift up. Very small thing. I love it. Smooth. Love that N52 engine. It was great in the manual 328 that we drove last year too. Which is a great engine. Although this is the version with the different intake manifold, so it makes a little more horsepower from the factory, about 250. In the 2025 car market, where every car has been so expensive, and even with prices dropping, a lot of cars are still kind of holding their value pretty well, especially with potentially incoming tariffs, or incoming, at this point I don't even know. Finding something this nice for $2,500 that needs a little bit of work, but if you're willing to wrench on it yourself, it's not that bad, is refreshing. And it's kind of cool to see that the deals you used to find on old, just regular used cars still exist. We have finished our test drive of the 2007 BMW X5, chassis code E70. And what a lovely car it is, especially for the money. I think in the used car market right now, for anybody who has a little bit of mechanical know-how, and I do have to say some, because if you don't have any, I still probably wouldn't recommend that you buy an X5. But if you have a little bit of mechanical know-how, and you want a nice car, but you don't want to pay $1 million, base model 2nd gen X5s with a 6-cylinder engine are great cars. There's a lot of good designs, they're relatively efficient, and they do well with high mileage life, as you see on this one, with 250,000 miles and even no service history. Can't say the same about the V8s, the N63, that's a whole other engine with its own other problems. He's laughing, yeah, because every BMW owner knows. Jesse, thank you for coming onto the channel and showing your X5. This is his daily driver. He also has a 335i. If you'd like to see more, go check out Limitless in the description down below.
Thank you.
Yes, with all that said, let's go ahead and give the 2nd generation BMW X5 a score. The 2nd gen BMW X5 3.0 SI scores here on our list. We don't have much to compare it to yet. The X5, while a bargain, does require some active ownership to keep on the road, and it does fall behind a lot of our modern competitors, but overall, a solid vehicle. Should you buy it? The 2nd generation BMW X5 is nothing to write home about, but that's not the point. It's probably the nicest car you will find in its class for the price. Cool features like the panoramic moonroof and the split tailgate make this an interesting daily driver. Pair that with the newfound reliability from the earlier X5s, the price and overall package, I would say these are a bargain if you're prepared to take on the maintenance.